So, hi, welcome. I'm Iris, and I'm a designer for collaborative business programs at an organization called Participatory City Foundation. And I want to talk to you about our project called Everyone Every Day, which is a project in Barking and Dagenham, so East London. It's a 5-year research and development project, and it's a project that's aimed at building the essential infrastructure for peer-to-peer participation. And our aim is to work with thousands of amazing residents together to build networks of friendship, and then we want to build the first of its kind, large-scale, fully inclusive, practical participatory ecosystem. So I want to unpack these words a little bit because I think they're quite big and I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense. So when it's first of its kind because it's never been done like this in the world. It's, as I said, it's a research and development project, and it's large scale. So we all know there are loads of amazing participatory projects all over the world. But what doesn't quite exist is actually a network of hundreds of projects like this. And it's large scale because it's happening in a whole borough. So Barking and Dagenham has over 200,000 people, like residents living there. And we're building the systems and the infrastructure for practical participation there. It's fully inclusive. By that we mean we are co-creating many different opportunities for many different people with many different interests, so they can participate on their own terms, with the time they have available, and also with their individual skills and interests. So the pictures on this on this slide give you a little bit of an idea of what it is. And that brings me to the term practical participation. So at the heart of it, it's practical participation. We do not have meetings where we sit around the table. We meet and we do stuff together. So these projects all have common denominators, so things that we already know attract many different people, from cooking together, making together, learning together, and the pictures give you a little bit of an idea of what it means for lots of people to come together and cooking together, sharing and sharing and mending together. And the way we work is we build two systems. So there's the support platform as one system, which is the shared essential infrastructure. So by that we mean the shared spaces, but we also mean our team. We're a team of 30 project or program designers and operations people, but we also take care of the operations and logistics. So imagine if that's insurance, we move a lot of boxes, we have loads of equipment and tools, but we also do the whole bureaucracy, we do the whole communication. We have a newspaper that goes out to over 60,000 people in the borough with all the activities. Just to show you how that looks like, I'm going to move slides, see if this works. I think it's quite small, but I just wanted to give you a bit of an image of how that ecosystem then looks like. That through the first system, the platform, the support platform, is created with residents living in the area. So we have the Everyone Every Day platform. So this is our shared spaces. So we have 5 shops, neighborhood. They are all on the high street. We do not sell anything at these shops, but they're called neighborhood shops. Imagine, big window faces. It's light, colorful in there. There are lots of friendly people in there offering you a cup of tea. And then there's also lots of inspiration there, from books to a sewing machine, to plants, to tools, all sorts of things. And you walk in, and it's a place where you can incubate your ideas and interests into actual projects that other people then can participate in, or you can join other people's projects. We also have one large maker space. It's called the Warehouse. It is, I think it's over 3,000 square meters. So in that maker space, it's public access. It has a ceramic studio. It has a fabrics area. It has a digital making. There's a woodworking area. There's a CNC cutter. We have an industrial kitchen, a community kitchen. There's a mini maker space, so everything for kids as well. And it's a place for people to, again, turn their ideas and interests into projects, but also into collaborative businesses. So start businesses together and learn together. So that's sort of happening on our Everyone Everyday platform level. I think what I want to show you with this picture is just the ecosystem, how it looks like. That there's participation happening on multiple levels. There's participation happening on your street level. There's participation happening on your neighborhood level, and there's participation happening on the borough level, on the city level. And the orange bit is the sort of our shared spaces. So the neighborhood levels where we have our locations across the borough. They are strategically placed. They are close to you, so you can travel there. It's like the maximum is like about 20 minutes distance from your house. And then we've launched this project this week that happens on street level, which is called Tomorrow Today Street. So this is mini platforms. This is about building the micro infrastructures for participation. So this consists of 24 starter kits that people living on a street can apply, and then they get these starter kits and they can make their neighborhood better. And when I talk about starter kits, what I mean is sort of materials, equipment, training, and there's lots of support. You get a mentor. Like one of us will be a mentor, and it's projects around. One is called Blooming Street, where you get seeds and pots and soil, and you make your street, more beautiful with flowers and plants. But there's also projects you can apply to get chickens and bees, or neighborly projects where we help you do stuff together, share stuff together. So again, there are like 24 different ones, from ping pong tables to chicken and bees to cooking together and all sorts of things. And yeah, so that's happening sort of on street levels. We have, as I said, we launched this week. We already have, I think we have over 40 people already have applied. So it's a bit of a hectic time now. Very exciting. And then, yeah, the last level is sort of the borough level, which is the everyday essentials, the cooperative platform that we want to build. So this is building on our collaborative business programs that we've been running for 18 months, which are designed to be low risk and inclusive. So lots of people can come and design, learn, and test rate products and services together under collaborative brands around food or retail, growing, lots of different things. But we're now looking into establishing what would it look like if we're building a platform and the sort of the essential systems and the infrastructure for people to make the essentials, right? What is that? That's food, that's clothing, that's furniture, that's repairing and maintenance, that's care, cleaning, repairing, all sorts of things. And we're looking into building that platform as well now. Yeah, I think that should give you a bit of an overview.
It's a great overview, Iris. Let's just take a step back and just get the base facts again. So Les is asking, yeah, this is a multi-million-pound program, right? I think you said 5 million?
No, so it's a 5-year-long project. We're halfway through, and the funding is at this point about 8 million. So it's fully funded till the end of it. So we don't have to worry about that. But obviously, we're looking into sustainability and expanding it.
So that's what I was going to come to next. So where did the funding come from? And yeah, what will happen when the funding fizzles out?
Yeah. So it's a variety of different funders. So one of the it's a council. So London Borough of Barking and Dagenham definitely are super crucial in this initiative. But then we also have Esme Fairburn, the National Lottery, City Bridge Trust, and we also have the GLA. So the GLA actually funded the Makerspace. So that was a good growth fund. And then we have additionally, so we've been building a school. So the schools to share this model of participatory cities. And the school is called Here Now. So the campus is in Barking and Dagenham. And we've got, so Bloomberg Philanthropies are funders of that. And then the idea of that school, and which ties into the sustainability model, is we want to build more participatory cities. So this model is about how can we adapt it and adopt it in different places. So we're working with the McConnell Foundation in Canada on 3 places, and also with Scotland and with the Cora Foundation there. But regarding sustainability, there is a bit of a, so at this point it's a research and development project. So it's grants for researching this, and it's either there's interest either from funders around creating infrastructure, or it's about saving. So how can you preventing? So we have already a lot of data that shows this has a really impact. This has a lot of positive impact on individual agency, on well-being, on health, on learning, on social cohesion. So the idea is by actually building this essential infrastructure in places, the money that you would have to put into helping people out of crisis can be reduced, and instead actually invested in something that stops people from getting to that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it strikes me that this project is kind of trying to do exactly what we're all trying to do here at the Open Co-op and in our related communities, but it's sort of coming from a slightly different place. So although it is sort of bottom up and it's all about citizens and participation, it is sort of partly being led by the council, funded by the council, which is quite amazing, because most of what we see elsewhere, especially in the United Kingdom and probably in the rest of the world, is that actually the local authorities, and definitely the more national and federal authorities, aren't really funding the kinds of projects that we want to see evolve, whereas this seems like they are. So A, like, how did that happen? And then B, I'd like to sort of pick up on Jonathan Bean's question. Is there going to be another one? Like, how come this kicked off in Barking and Dagenham? And then, yeah, to move on and talk about whether there's a virtual equivalent, like if there's some sort of learning sharing platform, which kind of fits into our conversation from earlier about digital collaborative tools.
Yeah. So that's quite a few questions. Remind me if I'm forgetting anything.
Okay.
So first question was around why Barking and Dagenham?
Yeah, so and how did they get on board? How come the council chose to do this?
This is a research and development project, but it is actually building on about 7 or 8 year long of research that went ahead of it. So this is actually, these 5 years is the culmination of in total like 12 years. So our founder, Tessie Britton, she has done a lot of research. She's traveled the world understanding what is this thing of co-production, and why are some participatory projects, why are they working, and what makes them work, and this is where our design principles are coming from. Things have to be inclusive, things have to be low commitment, things have to be low time commitment, practical, all these kind of things that she found out of this research. And then before actually this big prototype, there was a smaller prototype, which was in a smaller area. It had one shop. It was for 1 year. And that very much informed that actually in order for this to happen, because this is about infrastructure and systems, it has to be large scale. Because if it's large scale, it means thousands of people can participate on hundreds of projects, which also means lots of people can, life happens. People people get sick, people lose their job, people get divorced, they drop in and they drop out of projects, and some people have a lot of time to give, some people have very little time to give, people have family and other people in their lives they have to take care of. So it's the large scale is important because it allows for things to die and to stop, or to be picked up on. It's not dependent on one funding, like a project is not dependent on one single funding or on one person that's really committed, or a small group of people that's committed. Yeah, so that has led to this project, which is large scale, all that research that Tessie and others gathered over the years. And I think for Barking and Dagenham is a very interesting place. It's as you may know, it's I think it is London's most deprived borough. So there's a lot of poverty, inequality, domestic violence, but at the same time, it's also a borough full of young people and families. It's a borough where there's incredibly high amounts of entrepreneurial spirit, and it's incredibly diverse and cultural. So I think the council, they saw an opportunity to experiment what it would look like for a council to move from something that's service delivery to what would it look like for a council to be facilitators. And that really wonderful coming together of Tessie Britton and the council was, yeah.
That's, I mean, I think that, there's a lot of talk in the chat there about like Preston model, being kickstarted by the collapse of the private sector development. And that seems to map with what you're saying. And to me, yeah, there's mentions of the commons there too, and about, partnership with the state being essential. I think certainly, Michelle Bowens and various others have talked about, the role of the state as a facilitator rather than, a provider. And I think that's sort of what you're saying is happening here.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to pick up on those two of the really quick questions. So is there a plan to do this somewhere else? Could this be a pilot that?
No, definitely. So so we're building that school. We're working with Canada, with the McConnell Foundation. So they have identified 3 places. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's Toronto, Montreal, and Halifax. There's feasibility studies around there. They are actually going to launch the Tomorrow Today Streets packages as well. It will be really, really interesting to get that data, obviously, to see, because we have been in the borough, working actively in the borough for over 2 years. Like the network, we work with over 6,000 people already, and that's only the number we know. So our relationships have been strong. But coming out of COVID, there's potential. People, I think, have all realized they would like to know their neighbors. And this is about Tomorrow Today Street is all about making the neighborliness that has emerged again in crisis permanent. But in Scotland, sorry, that was a question. Scotland was also interested. They have identified, I think, 6 places where they are looking. What would that look like?
Okay, amazing. And just is there any online equivalent of these? Like we see in your presentation there, obviously these are very physical spaces, and this is clearly all about bringing people together in the borough. But is there anything that happens online?
Yes, there is, and in a way, that is the thing that we've built within the first week of us closing our spaces, because we realised we're all about bringing people together, but in a pandemic, we have to take responsibility, and obviously can't do that. So we built an online platform, and it's on our website. Anyone can join. Similar things happening there. So it's all about lots of sessions run by residents, local people who are sharing their skills in knitting or card making or growing or whatever it is. So at the moment, this is happening digitally. And for the Tomorrow Today Streets and the business programs, online is obviously really, really important at this point, because this is the way we can come together at this point with workshop learning. But yeah, really, really important for us, the practical participation. We don't really do things where we just sit around and talk. So that has been a challenge, but at the same time, it's been an opportunity for us to actually build that.
What tools are you using then to bring the people together online?
There's a platform called Mighty Networks.
Oh yeah.
So that has allowed us to build sort of our own network, so the equivalent to Facebook, except that it's and we're also encouraging people to form their street teams on that platform. But I have to say that my experience has been, I work like digital literacy is very low. Access to laptop, smartphones is very low as well in the borough. So it's been great for us to build the online platform, but it's not a standalone.
Okay. I want to open the conversation up to let more people talk, because I think there's some really interesting conversations happening in the chat.
I just wondered, I think you said you had £8 million of project funding. Is that over 3 years or something?
No, it was over 5 years.
Over 5 years.
And we're now halfway through, so we have about 2 years left to.
Yeah, okay. I used to work for the Big Lottery Fund, and I've seen a lot of these big projects with lots of grant funding collapse, even though they thought they had viable sustainability plans. At the end of the day, they just weren't sustainability with ongoing grant funding. So I just wondered how you've addressed that issue.
Yeah, so this is a research and development project. So at this point, we're quite in a good place where we can actually experiment and really build the things. And the way we work is very iteratively, like seeing what emerges, taking it. So our year 2 report was like 400 pages long. So we're actually hoping that by the time at the end of it, the infrastructure exists, like the resources, the tools, the equipment, the spaces all exist. They are assets that belong to the people of Barking and Dagenham. They won't disappear just because if we disappear. But at that point, we also have equipped multiple people in the borough to run those sessions without us, right? So that there isn't a legacy, like there will be legacy in any case. And obviously we are looking into actually, now that we are gathering the data, the proofs, and that has the evidence that this is a good investment into thriving, sustainable, healthy neighborhoods. We're hoping that obviously there will be continued funding, but it will be much lower, because it doesn't have to be that much anymore, right? Because the infrastructure, the assets already exist. And then the funding model, so at the moment it's grants, and then obviously if that is not like that anymore in the future. But with the school, we're hoping that the school of us teaching, Barking and Dagenham being the campus for other places to be teaching how to do this, will be the revenue model. And it is already bringing in revenue.
Oh, thanks. So most of it was, a large part was capital funding, because obviously it's the revenue funding that you have to keep going, isn't it? Well, I wish you, it's very interesting. I wish you the best of luck. I really hope it does prove sustainable, and of course generates a lot of information to feed into the development of similar projects elsewhere. Yeah,
well, everyone, you're welcome to come and visit us in Barking and Dagenham. I mean, at the moment the spaces are closed, but yeah, it's something that you sort of really have to experience in person. It's very, very hard to explain, but our website has a few videos that give you a bit of a better idea of, because we work with real people in real context, so it's not really, yeah. But Susanna, I want to go back to your question. So what's happening in terms of generative economic development funding via the prototype? To be honest, I don't quite know I don't work that much on funding, so I might not be the best person equipped to answer this. But building the essential infrastructure for this cooperative platform that we're looking into, we are definitely starting a new project and a new fundraising plan. So any ideas you guys actually have who might be interested in this? So we've been in this idea of building this idea of universal basic everything, which is what we call this big idea of systems. That we've been speaking to Kate Raworth with the donut economies, and lots of different people. So that it actually does bring in lots of these things, and we're at the development phase and research phase at this point, where we are looking like who would be up for funding this as well.
The cooperative platform really is the kind of like the central starting point of a cooperativism, which is something that I do as a way to integrate funding through the project and beyond it. So it sounds like, yeah, I'm very, very, very pleased and very impressed. Wow. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Mary, that's a really good question. So Mary is asking about money. Some people are being paid to run the project. Most of the people participating are volunteering. So this is so they're staff members. Yes, we are paid, but there's nobody else is paid. This is about peer-to-peer participation. So also we don't use the word volunteering. We don't. This has actually been one of our challenges and learnings, how hard it is to, like, people come in a mindset of service delivery or volunteering, which is doing either things for people or doing it for the good of it. Whereas what we're building is really looking into what does it mean to co-produce, to co-create on equal footing. And we're all on equal footing. So in my job, I'm not an expert in anything. If anything, I'm just facilitating the people to enable people to do stuff together. And it's the same with our staff members as project designers in our shops. It's about helping people turn their ideas and interests into projects. But then the projects are run by the residents and not run by us. It's a very different model of working that also takes a lot of time for people. So some people get it immediately and they're participating and doing things, and some people are it takes them longer, like that mindset of competition when it comes to doing business together. That mindset of competition and IP is a very strong one, whereas obviously we want to create in the business we want to create open source, circular economy, inexpensive essentials, and that mindset of sharing is one that we have to learn together and constantly remind ourselves of it. Does that answer your question? I hope it does. What happens on the shops? These are participatory projects when people come together to cook together, to grow together, to knit together, to make, to repair. There's no money exchange whatsoever. There are some projects where it's there's a host, and then you as a participant would bring an item, like that project, for example, called Trade School. It's somebody sharing skills, but you're also asking, like, can you bring a needle or like a tiny item? So there's some sort of exchange, but it's never money. And in the business programs, the idea, of course, is when we are starting these businesses, that people will be paid on living wage, and we're looking into starting cooperatives for that as a business form.
Hi. That's, great. Thank you very much for this, an amazing project. I was just wondering, you mentioned Kate Raworth, and so this question is in two parts, and it's great that you're collaborating. I'm just wondering, because I know Kate's part of the Thriving Cities initiative and the C40 cities, and you mentioned participatory cities. So I'm just wondering, are they connected, or have they got different models of or approach? And specifically, just in the second part, you mentioned, this is about like financing, and you mentioned the teaching model for Dagenham. That was their incentive in a way to become part of it, that they would be able to teach this. And so maybe there's a kind of funding thing or a finance thing there. And I'm wondering, are they looking at the protecting that IP in some way, or is it going to be open source? in sort of like the way agreements are being made and so on? Is that all sort of open?
No, I mean, I think we really believe in this idea that you know, people coming together on an equal footing can create those amazing neighborhoods. So we want to share everything we know. We have no secrets. Again, like I've got here our year 2 report. It's very, very thick. We're all also researchers. Like every interaction we have, we document and we codify, and we constantly change the way we work. So we work with this model of developmental evaluation, which means you constantly iterate and you learn from what you're doing, and everyone is involved. There is a difference. So Participatory Cities is what we are doing. That's so Participatory City Foundation is the charity that fundraised for the money and then started the initiative in Barking and Dagenham called Everyone Every Day. I know it's a little bit confusing with the names. And we've just started talking to the team from the donut economies, for example, on, and it seems to us and to them that there's similarities in they are having that sort of the cognitive model, and we're doing it in practice. And yeah, will be interesting to figure out what that looks like and what that means. But we have, yeah, there are lots of opportunities for, like on our website, and please do check it out. There's lots of opportunities for people to become research partners with us, to become collaborators. Like we want to work with people from outside, like to do what we're doing better, and to share the learning and to create more of those places.
Thank you.
Do other people have questions for Iris? There's one from Wales here about asking if there's any intention to build such a platform in a developing country, but I'm guessing this is probably beyond scope right now.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if there are people, if there's energy, if there are people who want to do it, if there are established people with networks in place, plus I think it is crucial to work with government in the place, because a lot of the practical problems that you encounter, you really you want to have that relationship. But yeah, why not? Drop us an email. We'd love to have a conversation if you know of places who are interested. We learned that this isn't a model that you can replicate. This is only a model that you can adapt and adopt. So it's still, you don't have to do all the research that we're doing right now every day, because we are gathering that. But at the same time, you know, every place is unique, and its citizens are unique. But a lot of the things, the common denominators and design principles are adaptable.
So yeah, I think it's an amazing example of what can be achieved when the council actually kind of wake up and smell the opportunity here, because there's so much of what's being delivered there that just maps entirely with everything it is that we're trying to create. And it's inspiring really to see that maybe there is scope to work. Earlier in the day, Iris, we brought up a line which sort of said, we asked people to vote as we were voting earlier, to say, do you think we should work within the existing system or invent a new system which makes the present one obsolete? And it's just trying to get people to gauge where they fit on that line. Well, and I was sort of thinking that a lot of people might be interested in working within the existing system, and there was a sort of split, but this is a sort of clear argument that there is a model there that we could evolve our current organizations and bureaucracies to make them possibly viable and fit for purpose. It still seems like there's a long way to go there. I guess the one thing that we haven't really heard is about the people here, and I'm wondering, like Les was saying, you can parachute this stuff into a place, but that doesn't necessarily make it a success. Really, it's all about the people of Barking and Dagenham, right? Has there been, any animosity towards this? And what's the acceptance of it? It looks like everyone in the photos is loving it and having a great time, and there's lots of success. Is that really the case, down on the ground on the street?
Yeah, I think so. There's really good energy. I mean, again, it's a place with also a history of a bit of right wing, and it's a place where there has been conflict, but I think there's something our research suggests that the places we've built with the structures and the people in those places, it is a warm and welcoming place. So people want to come and they want to come back. And there are multiple entry points. So it's not like you come in and you're like, okay, what can you share? What are the skills you have? It's a gentle process, and there's no hierarchy, and like being a host is not more important than you joining a session or you going door knocking and delivering newspapers. So it's, yeah, I think I have, I mean, maybe I'm too close to it, but yeah, no, I think people are quite, yeah, I think that people have been missing it in this time of isolation as well. And I think that shows in the amount of applications we've had just within a few days of people saying like, yeah, like we want to be included.
Gary's question: is there a dimension of peacemaking and conflict handling? Yeah,
I mean, for example, Barking and Dagenham has a history of racism, which obviously in the moment of Black Lives Matter times is coming up and is something that we want to hold these conversations. I think the best answer I think I can give in this one is that as like our team, the neighborhood teams, we have to be really good facilitators. This is about a lot of skills around conversations, having crucial conversations, and of course it, like, you know, people come in with their experiences and their values and opinions, and sometimes they clash, but obviously how do you invite them to learn more, to broaden their opinion, but at the same time you want them to come back. And there's lots of research suggests that when you bring people together, different people together, by just people seeing different people together, that has an influence on them and being more open-minded. We're all learning. Like I've been running business programs for 18 months now, and conflicts are normal, tensions are normal. In any group you have conflicts and tensions, like that's just part of life. So it is about finding ways, what are we trying to do together, and recognizing everyone has different strengths and capabilities, and one of our approach is about looking at what are people's capabilities and their strengths, and there's a role for everyone. And it's good that we're all different.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the answer to my question. You're being paid to do this. Everybody's having a good time. What happens when the funding stops? Have they started enterprises, or what's the how does it fit in with the people's normal ideas of economic activity? Are these just activities for people sort of when they're not working, or people who can't work for some reason? I can't see people who are doing who are trying to survive by doing 0 hours contracts having time to participate in these jolly activities, like teaching people to knit. I just can't get the hang of this.
Well, thank you for your question. I think so just separating out the neighborhood projects from the business programs. So people can participate in lots of neighborhood projects, which are about, cooking, making, all of these things. They are designed to be inclusive, which means they happen during the day, in the evening, on the weekend. So they are flexible in the time. So we sometimes do the test when we give people the newspaper and say, fine, if there's nothing in there for you that interests you, let me know. But I'm pretty sure there is something in there. So these activities are designed to fit into everyday life. That is part of the way that we design them. About your question about the business things, yes. I mean, this is about building a new way of work, right? That is also more flexible, that fits around your life. Again, when we run business programs, these used to be with trying new models out, but the ones we have run in the past were about 3 months long. They had sessions always either during the day, in the evening, or on Saturday. So you can do that regardless of whether you are full-time employed or you have kids and family, because just bring them. Like, I think we have a statistics, nearly 90% of our activities are kid-friendly. They're incredibly large amounts of kids everywhere running around and being part of what's happening. So yeah, this is about where design comes in, right? This is where you design it in a way that works for people with the time they have, with the individual skills and interests they have. And yeah, with the businesses, we definitely want to start, you know, businesses that pay the living wage, and not necessarily full time. Actually, they might be part time. They might be flexible.
And what happens when you're not there anymore? I still haven't got the hang of this.
Well, ideally we never disappear. We're just there in lighter form. But if the project comes to an end after those 5 years, which is in about 2 years, then we do hope that there are existing cooperatives that make essentials. We are already, so this isn't all about tangible outcomes. This is a lot about intangible things. This is about cohesion, increased cohesion. This is about the friendships and relationships that people need to survive and thrive. This is about creating beautiful and sustainable neighborhoods. This is about learning that's happening on peer-to-peer, because you go over and give somebody a bit of sugar, but in return that person might fix your bike. I don't know. You know, like, this is it's tangible and intangible things that are coming, and these won't disappear just because we might not be there anymore.
I guess that what you're doing is really incubating, right? Like, the idea would be that some of these businesses evolve to the point where they take off and can exist and sustain themselves. But I'm imagining as well, like, if some of these organizations get started as co-ops, you know, and get the cooperative principles embedded in them, that's a sort of self-replicating model. Like, co-ops are supposed to help educate their community about other co-ops and help initiate new co-ops and help support other co-ops. So just by sowing the seeds of this, just like you might in an incubator, you might hope to get a beautiful strawberry plant which daisy chains its way across the borough by initiating new and similar organizations which themselves become sustainable as part of this new kind of more sustainable collaborative economy.
Yeah, and I actually, it probably makes sense to say that we are looking into what does the platform for this look like. So when I say platform, I don't necessarily mean the definition that you have in your head, but because we use platform for what the support platform that enables participation. But that might look like that you have independent cooperatives for essentials, essential products and services, but you also might have a support platform that is there to do the training, the accounting, the branding, the legal stuff, that incubates more cooperatives. And that, you know, there are different options how that might be independent funding, that might be some of the profit share from the other cooperatives that sustains it. It might be that this is something that's you know, a community share. I don't know yet. We're in this phase where we went back to the drawing board. COVID enabled us to do that too. And yeah, but if you have any ideas, if you have any examples I need to speak to, I do know of the Preston model. This morning I spoke to the people in Liège in Belgium, who have like a network of 20 cooperatives. It's amazing. Like, there's a lot out there, but if you know of anything that I should know, and there's loads that I don't know, yeah, please let me know.
Cool. Thank you so much, Iris. It's been really interesting.